All right. We have all our parts imported. They're all.
That's me. Sorry.
All right. We have all our parts imported, and we have them on coarse tessellation quality. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go outside of this intake COTS folder. We're going to click back on the intake folder. We're going to go to the WIP intake, where we have these two plates that are stuck in space, they can't move. And we're going to start importing the parts that we need for this. So how we're going to do that is we're going to hit the insert button in the top left, same way we got these two plates into the studio. So we can then look up the name of this part studio here, and it's intake COTS. And I'm going to hit the arrow to expand it. We don't want to hit just this. So we're going to have 6 bearings. So we're going to click on this 6 times. And you should see it'll say inserted 6 right here. For the bearing. That'll be your first item. And then we can click to just set them down as a group together. So the next thing we're going to do, we're only going to grab 2 of these wheels because we'll be able to multiply these in a better way than importing a bunch of them. So right now we've inserted 8 parts, being 2 of our orange wheels and 6 of our bearings. So after that, we're going to bring in one 20-tooth 20 DP gear. The next thing we're going to bring is the 36, and we're going to bring 2 of those. So now we're at 11 parts imported. We'll make it 12 by importing the 42. We're going to need, I think it's 4 hex collars. So we have 16. And then we're going to add 2 hex shafts. And once we have this, we'll hit the check mark here up at the top to confirm we want to add all of these to our part studio. So are we all to this point? Okay. Where did I lose people? So to insert these parts, I went to the insert. I went to the intake COTS and I hit the drop down. So that'll give me a list of all the parts here. I grabbed 6 of the bearing. How do you grab 6 rather than just grab? The way I grabbed multiple is I just clicked on it multiple times. I clicked on it 6 times. And then I grabbed 2 of the orange wheels, so I just clicked on that twice. Clicked on 20 tooth once. Clicked twice on the 36 tooth. Clicked once on 42. Clicked 4 times on this clamping collar. And once on this shaft. And then I hit the check up here to confirm that I wanted to add it. So, are we all here? What are those sideways thumbs? Are you here? What do you mean you think you have the wrong gears? Okay. Oh, so yep. You have some grab the 20. Yep. So we'll just delete that after we import. Do you know how many? Oh, we imported the wrong gear. So put in a 42 right now. That one's right. Yep. This one. Hit the check. So we tap medium size here, and what is the small one? Just select button. Click. Back. Go over to your first video. And go to click that. 60. And it's the half inch. Yes. And then we're gonna import to.
Do you know where one of the two nuts for the buttons that was on the cartridge?
Yeah, because you don't have it. So just follow right now. CAD is being weird.
Or two of them.
Okay,
How's it going?
good.
Fair enough.
So
No, I just have to press.
the next thing we're going to do, first of all, not the next thing we're gonna do, but if you guys are seeing these, those represent mate connectors that were added artificially to these parts, and they have it shown so that you're able to select them a little bit easier. We can hide or show these by pressing K on our keyboard. I know some people that doesn't work for them. I don't know what the solution is then, but we can hit K again and we'll see these mate connectors for all of our parts. And if we wanted to see it for just the shafts, we can select these and then hit K. Never mind, that did it for all of them. But yeah, that's how we would make those visible. So the next thing to do here is to start fasten mating these together. So we can really do this in any order. I'm gonna start with the motor. So I'm gonna hit fasten mate to start our third fasten mate here. And I'm gonna scroll and pan to our motor, and I'm gonna grab this outside circle that is used for mounting on this versaplanetary. And I'm just gonna grab any one of these. And then I'll go here, and these two holes are the ones we have set up to mount our versaplanetary. And I'm just gonna select the top right one. And so it tries to put them into each other. So what we can do is we can hit these two arrows to flip our primary axis. So that swaps the Z. And right now, it's not showing me the motor. If that's something you want to see while you're doing it, you can hit the solve button, and that'll show you exactly what it would look like if you were to hit check at that point. So then to rotate it in a place, we'll hit reorient secondary axis, and we'll do that twice. We can hit solve, and if we rotate around, we can see that that lines up. We have our two holes perfectly lined up, and if we hit check, and we can see that our hex shaft is going through. We have our versaplanetary mounted here, and it should work. So the next step, I think the next step, I'm going to start adding some bearings. So that's this stack here for me. So this little lip is what's going to stick on the outside of our parts, or the outside of our plates that we made. So I'm going to go on the lip here, and I'm going to select this inner circle. And you'll see that the mate connector it's grabbing is in the center of that bearing. Then we hit left click, and what we can do is we select somewhere on this circle, and then we can reorient it so that our flange is facing into our intake. Then I'm going to hit this check mark right here instead of the one at the top left, so I can immediately start a new fasten mate. And I'm going to grab our next bearing. I'm going to put it here. It doesn't really matter what hole you're grabbing right now, but I'm just going to grab that one. Confirm, start another one. And I'm going to do that for these 6, and then we'll pause and make sure that we're all in the same spot. And for this opposite plate, I'm going to have the flange on the opposite side. We have not yet.
No, but I mean in real life.
That's a question I didn't know. In our CAD document for OD, there wasn't a motor, so
There wasn't.
let me check.
I was thinking that it would have interfered with the motor because it's a quarter-inch. We don't need 6.
Yep. So we can actually delete the 6th bearing because we don't need one on our shaft that's from the Versaplanetary. So I'm gonna pause for a second. Does everyone know how to get to this point? Is anyone in dire need of help from me? Okay. Who here needs more time? Okay. I'll give a little bit more time.
But you don't have a meeting tomorrow, right?
No cadathon tomorrow. The next cadathon meeting will be next Tuesday at the same times.
What does the solve button do?
Make sure that you have them going the right way. So you want to right under the right cycle. And you want to cast that outside. So pass on this one. No, it's the under the lip. Inner circle. It's hard to see. I can show And then since I want to face in the team, I need to do one thing back here. And then this is what I'm saying.
Yep.
And then the lid down the top. The one that should get line.
Then that's you want to the well. You have 10 people.
All right. Are we ready to move on to the next thing? Not quite. All right. I'm gonna give 4 more minutes at most for this. These have all been fasten mates. So if any of you accidentally click this mate connector, what that's going to do is it makes a new mate, and you're able to you originate it from one, but then you're able to move it or realign it. and that's not what we want. So I'm going to hit X out of that. That's why you have to hit fasten mate and not mate connector. What do you want to do next, Gabriel? No. I don't have any preference. You're picking. Okay. The next thing we can do, we can either do the shafts or we can do the shafts. It would make most sense to do the shafts next. Because our gears, our wheels, and our hex clamps are all going to go onto the shaft. So that's what we'll do next. I disagree.
That's a very good question.
So I can see the thought process going on in there. Do you two have it, Gabriel and Cade?
I think I did like 8 hours.
Yeah, it always takes a little bit at first. I was not this quick at first. Yes, Kyle.
For the direction of the bearings, are they both facing the same direction?
Yeah. So the flange, they're both facing the same direction, but the flange is going to be on the inside of one and on the outside of the other. Does that sound correct, Sean? Yeah. I just had to make sure because we did do it wrong a couple times. Kyle? Are we ready to move on to the next thing? Are we sure? Okay. We're going to fasten mate these shafts next. So we're going to grab the end of this. So we can grab the inside of this washer by hovering over this circle. And we'll see that the blue line is facing into the shaft. That's how we know we've grabbed the inner one and not one of the outer ones here in the middle. We'll grab that one. We'll click on that fasten mate or that mate connector, and we'll then go to our bearing. We'll go to this outside face right here. We're going to hover over it to where we can see all the different mate connectors on our bearing, including, or on that hexagon, including the center. And then what we can do is we can hold shift so we can move our mouse freely and it won't change the view of those mate connectors. Those will always be there for us. And then we're able to select the center one. I was trying to show that you can rotate and still see it, but now my view is lost. Let me find it again. We grab that center one. We should see that the hex shaft is going to go through. It's going to go to the other side and pop out right on the other side with our fastener and washer right there with a little bit of slack. And then we can hit solve and we can do the same thing for the next one. Bless you. Give me a thumbs up when you're here. No, we're fastening the shaft to the bearing.
He doesn't have
So I'm going to go here. Feel my mouse. So I'm just going to just hand it down so I can hold my eye.
I don't think
Yes, that works.
I'm going to zoom in.
You see the
I'm
cord.
going to select this point.
This tells
And watch this
I
point.
made
Press
everything
right
half
into
inch off.
So we select that, and then we select the bearing.
I did 18. I should have done 19.
Yes.
No, you were supposed to do 18.
For the length of the shaft.
I would get you 25 and a half.
Yeah.
The
bearing stuff, I'll use that 11%. That's why I got it. 18.
Oh, is it? Yeah. So I did it wrong.
Yeah.
I feel like you're just saying that. So you want to
It's yes. I think the hex shaft is the wrong length by a small amount, but we're able to just change the configuration within our part studio. So we can see by how much it's off by hitting these parallel or these concentric circles. And then we can see the center distance, and it's solely in the Z direction, and that's a 1/16 of an inch that it's off by. So I'm going to copy paste that number by just hitting measure details. It's also 0.0625. So I'm going to go back to the intake COTS part studio. I'm going to double click on this derived 1/2 inch hex shaft. On the side here, it's the only one with the blue box. What I'll do here is an effective length. We have 18.5 inches right now. I'm just going to add minus the 0.0625 inches. And then I can hit enter. And I think it's getting mad at me because this inch measurement. Yep, there it is. So that's 18 inches and that's 7/16. And now, if we go back to our studio, we can see that it's resting directly on there. How are you doing, Wildcard? All right, thumbs up.
So go to your intake thoughts. Select the extra.
You'll never sit anywhere near where it's supposed
I think you're fine.
to. Velcro here and just try to more.
All right. Are all of you ready to move on to the next thing? I'm taking the perchance as a yes for the general public. So, I want to do the wheels next because they're cool. So, I'm going to go on the wheel here. I'm going to go to this top face of it, and it'll show me all the possible mate connectors. I'll hold shift, and I'm going to grab the center origin point of it. And then I'm going to go down here to our bearing, and I'm going to grab the center of that. And so initially they'll have those right on top of each other. So then we can add offset in the Z direction. I'm just going to do -1 because that'll move it far enough away from our gears to where they won't interact. And it's -1 because it shows that positive Z is towards our bearing here. And I'm going to hit this check mark to instantly start a new mate, fasten mate. I'm going to grab the same point on that intake wheel, and I'm going to grab the same point on this bearing. And I'll do the same amount of offset in the -Z direction. So now we have two wheels. Is everyone here? Does everyone know how to get here? No? Okay. I'm gonna hit Control Z a couple times. Not that many times. And I'm gonna redo it. So, we're gonna use our Fasten Mate tool. We're gonna go to the top of this orange wheel, and it should show you all of these mate connectors. We'll hold Shift so that we can move our mouse around freely, and we're gonna grab the center. Left click that to select it. I'm gonna pan my view down to this bearing here. I'm going to grab the center point of that bearing, and that'll cause them to be directly on top of each other, but we still have to add the gear. That's why we have to add this offset, and I'm just doing -1 because it's a nice round whole number, and I know that's going to be far enough to get away from the gears. And then I'm going to hit this check mark here, and I'm going to grab the same point on the second wheel, and I'll grab the same point on this wheel here, and I'll add the same offset. So now we have our hex shafts. Right now we have our bearings on our intake. We have our Versaplanetary with our Neo 550 mounted. We have our hex shaft going across. And we have our two orange compliant wheels. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready to move on. Okay. What's the? You don't need to rotate it beforehand. By grabbing the mate connectors, it rotates it for you. You just went to the part studio where we grabbed it.
You're supposed to press that.
Okay. Now we're going to add multiple of these wheels using a tool exclusive to assemblies. So up here at the top we have our different mates up here first. There's a tangent mate. We can just group things. Snap. What we want right here is this assembly linear pattern. So what that looks like is 3 highlighted or grayed out boxes and then 1 white box. We'll click on that tool. It's on the top of the toolbar. Right here. We'll select that. For the instances, that's referring to the part that we want to duplicate or have a linear pattern of. So we're going to grab both of these wheels. For the direction, we want it to start going into our other plate. So we're going to, direction is going to be the face of this other plate. For the distance, 1 inch is fine, but right now I can see that it's going towards my plate because the Z axis of that mate connector is negative. So if that's happening for you, we can just say opposite direction. 1 inch, I don't think that's what we actually ended up doing. I'm going to change that to 1.5. And then for the instance count, I believe we had 10 on each of these. So we can change that to 10. We had 12. We had 11. I forgot how many wheels we had on each. So for our final thing here, the two instances we have selected are our two original compliant wheels that we have mated with a 1-inch offset to these bearings. The distance here is 1.5. That's the distance from each of these circles here. So this circle is 1.5 inches from this highlighted circle, which is 1.5 from this. And the instance count, it's 11 orange compliant wheels. So we're having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Even I'm having trouble getting my direction. When I click on the plate, it turns red.
So for direction, just clicking on the plate doesn't work for you?
Yeah, I deleted it and started again now. Now.
Okay.
So
You're gonna have to hit the arrows next to instance.
thank you.
Yep. How much time? Okay. We have 2 minutes left. I don't think we're going to have enough time to finish the mate connectors for all of this. So, in the time we have left, before all of you pack up, feedback form. So I can continue to improve these lessons as we go. I'll leave the link up on the TV if you can't see that. It's in the same slideshow. And we'll finish our intake assembly and add it to our main assembly at the start of the next meeting, which will be next week, next Tuesday. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yep.
See you